Good time zone, Gen Friends, and welcome to CrossGen Friends, your gaming, pop culture, and tech podcast with a multi-generational point of view. I am Joe LaRussa, and with me always is Miller. Not Josephus Miller, but Byron Miller. How are you, Byron?
I am okay, all things considered. It's super cold here in North Carolina, and we got our second snow in the same number of weeks. But yeah, I have a question for you, Joe. What's your happy place this week?
Well, I want to ask you first. Do you know what my reference was to Josephus Miller? Does that
Nope.
mean anything to you?
Yeah,
No?
it sounds Mormon to me.
That's probably not a terrible guess. It is a reference to the Expanse book series. That is a character in the book series, and you actually don't find out his first name is Josephus until like the last couple pages of the first book, but his name is Miller. Like his name isn't really a spoiler or anything; it's a funny name, and so they don't tell you what it is. Um,
I watched a couple seasons of that on Sci-Fi,
oh, then
and then
Miller,
I
yeah, Miller.
stopped.
His name is Josephus.
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, it
Oh,
was. I
like the
wanted to
other
like
main
it,
guy.
and then never really cared much.
I see. I'm reading the books just because I'm excited for the upcoming game. But yes, my happy place this week, to answer your question, is my anniversary with Jing. Jing's my anniversary of being boyfriend girlfriend is January 29th. So we celebrated our 3-year anniversary just a couple of days ago. Incidentally, it's also my buddy's birthday. Happy birthday, Brooks. Sorry I missed your stream, by the way. I know you were streaming that day. But we went to Texas de Brazil, Brazilian steakhouse. Have you been to a Brazilian steakhouse before?
I have. They're
Okay, yeah,
they're fine. I try to stay away from buffets just because I tend to eat more than I should at a buffet.
yeah, I get that. For the audience who doesn't know, a Brazilian steakhouse is basically, instead of you ordering a single steak item that's really expensive and high quality, you pay a lot of money for as much as you can eat of a bunch of different
Meat.
types of meats. Steaks, they have chickens and pork as well, but it's things like you get a slice of filet mignon, you get a slice of spicy sirloin, you get a slice of chicken garlic parmesan, and all these different types of
But
meat, and they come around to the tables and cut them in front of you and serve you.
they're smart though. When you sit down, they bring the cheap crap out and they give you the cheaper crap to begin with, and then you eat a bunch of that, and then they bring the expensive stuff out, and you're like, oh, well, just a little bit. I just had a whole bunch to eat.
I don't know. I think the first thing we had was the filet mignon.
I don't like filet mignon, so but yeah, they may not all do that, but that's the joke about Brazilian steakhouses.
Yeah, they're really good. I enjoy them. They are very expensive though. It's like, for just two of us together, it's like $150. So it's not a cheap meal, but again, it's our anniversary. We were celebrating. Uh, yeah, we went there for our anniversary last year as well. So we figured we would just go again because it's snowing and everything out. So rather than like look for a place and figure it out and deal with the snowstorm, just go to a place that we know and we know is not particularly busy on a snowy night, on a snowy Thursday night. So that was my happy place this week. We had a very nice time there. Had a great food. I tried their house cocktail, which I don't remember what it exactly was called. It was some sort of Brazilian cocktail with like a Brazilian alcohol. It was pretty good. I enjoyed it. It's very sweet because you basically get a flavored alcohol, and you can have like a sweet or a somewhat more savory. And so I went with the sweet strawberry flavor of it, which is what the waitress recommended. That was pretty good. And yeah, overall enjoyed the meal. And it's like a buffet. It's outside of the meat. They have like a salad bar buffet and whatnot as well, which
And you
is
get sides over there at the ones that I've been to.
yeah, yep. They had potatoes au gratin, which is good, and they had some nice jasmine rice and a bunch of salad things and some cured meats. I love a good cured meat.
Did they have the best Brazilian food?
The
Brazilian
cheese
cheese bread?
bread. Yeah, they
Yeah.
did.
I,
I knew that's what you
I
were gonna say.
I make Brazilian cheese bread. It's easy to make and it's so good. And
Friend
it
of the
freezes perfectly.
friend of the show, Koala, messaged me when I told him where we were going. He was like, "Can you send me a picture of the cheese bread?" And I said, "Yeah." So what I ended up doing was took a picture of it in the basket. I took a picture of me holding it, and I took a bite of it, and I took a picture of it bitten. I sent it to him.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good stuff. It is tapioca flour and Parmesan cheese mixed together, essentially. So
Yeah, it's a very light flavor. Like it's not very heavy cheese. And we're big on cheese here. Jing makes this really delicious pesto pasta that she uses, and when she does for like a lunch, and she'll make like a chicken pesto or a shrimp pesto or something, but she makes the pesto pasta first and adds a whole bunch of cheese to it to like give it some protein. And then usually I eat the pesto pasta and cheese as like a meal, like a dinner or something, and then she uses the rest of it for her lunches throughout the week and pre-portions them during her meal prep. And it works out really well, and it's very tasty, but that's very heavy in the cheese. You can taste like it's very strong cheese because we use like very sharp cheddar, and the cheese bread very, very light in the cheese flavor, but tasty nonetheless. Very much enjoyed it. We were good. We only ate the one basket. We didn't ask for a second basket, even though I was very tempted at the end to do so. Yeah. So that was it. That was my happy place. It was great. Before we move on to Byron's happy place, let me just remind everybody to like and subscribe if you enjoy the show. We appreciate any comments and engagement here. And now, Byron, what is your happy place this week?
Well, as I stated, it has snowed again in North Carolina. Last week we had a whole lot. We had a little bit of snow and then a whole lot of not freezing rain. We had a whole lot of sleet, and the sleet is still there in a lot of places, and it sucks, and I hate it. And yesterday we got about 24 hours of heavy snowfall. It's very light snow, so it's easy to shovel, which is what I did before recording today. So we only got like 6 inches of snow, and it was super easy, but it's not fun whenever it's on top of the ice that hasn't melted, because it's not been warm here either. But me saying all that and explaining how much I hate snow and how much I hate winter, I do understand the importance.
Yeah, sounds more like an unhappy place.
But it gets there. I like the wholesome feel good meals, and so but when we knew this was coming, we went to the grocery store and we got some stuff to make some feel good meals at home. And I made a new macaroni and cheese recipe yesterday that was fantastic. I have one that I think I may have talked about before on the show. I can't remember. It's
I think so.
The Ina Garten, and it's good, and I like it. And we always put ham and tomatoes in it. But this is one that I found watching the Mythical Kitchen YouTube channel. And in this one, they use evaporated milk and they use mustard powder. And it was really good. I don't know if I like it better than the Ina Garten one, but it was very good. And I mean, when it's just the two of us and we make a survey or a container of it like this, and we have 2 to 3 meals out of it. So I'm looking forward to eating the leftovers coming up. And then tonight we have ingredients for red beans and rice. So yesterday, after I boiled the pasta, I boiled the red beans, because if you don't boil red beans, you'll get sick from them, because you have to denature the protein.
You did the pasta yesterday for it?
No, the pasta for the macaroni and cheese I did yesterday.
Oh, you're mixing them. I see.
Yeah, so red beans and rice doesn't have any pasta in it. It has rice.
I see. Okay.
They put it right there in the name.
Yeah, but you said pasta. You boiled the pasta. I was like, wait a sec. That's why I was. Really
So I had the pot. I boiled the macaroni, and then I used the macaroni, and then I boiled the beans.
I see.
Gotcha. So after this, I'll go and I'll prep my veggies, and I have some andouille sausage that I'm going to put into it, and it'll be good. We have some friends coming over. One of them's a listener of the show, so it'll be good to see them. They only live 0.3 of a mile down the street from us. So
a dangerous journey in the snow and ice.
Yeah, it'll be fine. We actually they have a newer model of it, but we have the same Subaru, and they have a big ass pickup truck also. So I'm not super concerned. The Subaru that I have will get through essentially any snow you'll ever see in North Carolina. Ice is different. Ice, unless you've got studs, no car is any better than any other car on ice.
Yeah, or chains on the tires. Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, back when I was a kid, they used to keep chains for the school buses, and occasionally they would still have school whenever it got snowy. But now they just shut down school and don't even try.
Yeah, I mean, because they can do it virtually, I guess, on those days now.
And some of them do. So the county that we're in has gotten enough money that every kid gets a Chromebook or a laptop or something like that. I don't remember what it is now. And so everybody has the ability, if you have internet at home, which I know is a challenge for some people, they do remote learning, and they seem to pivot to it pretty quickly. But apparently tomorrow is just called off entirely. I don't know if there's a limit to the number of remote learning days they can do, but I know there's also a limit to the number of snow days they're allowed to do before they have to start doing makeup days in June. So
yeah, we had so in my life, having split my time in snow world and hurricane world, we had pre allotted extra days built into the year. So it was always like, I think it's 180 school days or something minimum in both states that I was in, and that varies state by state. But I think it was like 180 days, and they built in like 190 days into the calendar or something like that. And then if you didn't have any snow days or hurricane days, you would actually just end a little bit early, because you had those days accounted for, and then afterwards they would start having to go for deeper into the summer months if it was that way. Obviously, this is all before remote learning.
We had snow days when I was coming up, but I don't remember my kid having any kind of snow days. They just either can't close school, or they did a half day and then counted that, or they just canceled school altogether. And yeah, I don't remember there ever being many makeup days, but we don't typically get big snowfalls in North Carolina that often. I mean, maybe
Or
2 or 3
hurricanes.
times. We do get hurricanes. One of the little
Not as often as what I meant, not Florida level of hurricanes.
not Florida level, but one of the little fun factoids is Wilmington, North Carolina gets hit by hurricanes more than any other city in America.
Okay.
They're not usually, more than like a Cat 1, but
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Wilmington kind of sticks out there like a middle finger, daring, and the same current that I guess keeps Miami mostly safe.
Smacks into Wilmington.
Aims it right at Wilmington. Yeah. So when back when I used to work for the same companies that you do, we had a hurricane. We had the office in Lake Mary, and we had the office in Castle Hayne, and we had the office in Greensboro, and the same hurricane hit all three of those. It was like a category 3 when it hit Lake Mary.
What storm was it? Which one was it? Do you remember?
I don't remember. It was probably 4 years ago as a guess. 3 to 4 years ago, but it hit like Cat 3. It hit Lake Mary, and then it hit Wilmington as a Cat 1, and then it hit Greensboro as a tropical depression or tropical storm.
Wow, that's funny.
Yeah, just weird stuff.
It was probably the one that I lost power for a few days in. If it was only because that was a 2022 storm that I lost power for a while.
That fits.
Yeah, like 3 days I was out at that power. It was quite. I was living in my car basically because that's where I could charge my phone, and I had air conditioning. I made a random spur of the moment drive down to Tampa with some friends in Saw Avenue Q at the Playhouse down there.
We did get hit by Hugo when I was in 8th grade, I think, 1989, and that was a full legit hurricane that came through central North Carolina. And Florida's built to withstand levels of hurricanes. But
some of it is, yeah.
North Carolina is not. Yeah, I mean, Andrew got rid of a lot of those houses, though.
Yeah, I know that the one that hit North Carolina 2 years ago was bad. It hit it pretty bad over there. Do you remember the one I'm talking about?
It's rare that hurricanes themselves do a lot of damage in North Carolina. What they do is they park over parts of the state and just flood it with rain. So it's rare that it's the winds that cause problems around here, but it's more common that just the rains flood. When I got married, 1999, there are people who could not come to our wedding because either Fran or Floyd, I can't remember which one was that year, had come through, and it had flooded essentially the entire state east of Raleigh.
Yeah, Helene is the one that I was thinking of. Hurricane Helene came through in 2024 again, hit you guys.
Yeah, Helene was the one that flooded Asheville. But the wind didn't do anything to Asheville, but just the tremendous rain is what destroyed.
Yeah. No, I was just referring to. I know that storm hit, and because one of the old podcast that I used to do, one of the co-hosts on there, he is a North Carolina resident, and he was like displaced from that storm a couple of years ago when it came through. So anyway, let's move on to no storm topics here and discuss other things. How's that sound, Byron?
Works for me. You got first story.
I do. All right, into the news here. Sony has had a patent issued in the US for a new type of controller, a digital touchscreen-based controller that allows you to customize the buttons and analog sticks, including size, location, and number of them. One of the particularly interesting features is some sensors that are seemingly built into the controller. Per VGC, quote, Sony's patent mentions that the touchscreen would have a pressure sensor and a heat sensor to, quote, detect condition of the input surface, end quote. It's not clear whether this means simple on-off sensors or sensors with a varying degree of sensitivity. But if it's the latter, it may potentially be able to determine the difference between a thumb resting on the controller and a thumb pressing down on it, end quote. Now, this is reportedly to address an issue with a touchpad controller from the 90s, an 8-bit and 16-bit controller called the Turbo Touch 360 that resulted in, quote, players accidentally moving their character when naturally, quote unquote, resting their thumb on the panel, end quote. Byron, what do you think of this? What do you think of a touch screen only controller?
My biggest problem with phone games is I think touch controls kind of suck. I'm not super excited by this. I'll wait and see what happens whenever it comes out. But I think Sony has been notoriously gimmicky with their controls, and I think that they aim high and then don't stick with things. They did it with the 6-axis. They had all these games that came out where you controlled your dragon with the 6-axis, and then they told people you got to build 6-axis into your games, and then they dropped it because nobody liked it and it was gimmicky.
They still have the feature, like they still
have
have
it, but they don't use it.
Controls.
And they have the touchpad on the new PlayStation 5 controller, and I think it's great as a button, as a touchpad. Like, it's cool that you can wipe your finger across it and see on the screen it light up on different places. But like outside of that, it has little to no use. I prefer there to be small changes that are beneficial. I kind of miss this, but the old Xbox 360 Xbox One controller that had the convertible D-pad, that was cool. That's the kind of feature that I want to see, where one kind of control works better for one kind of game and one kind works better for a different kind of game, and you can just change it by twisting it. Those things are neat to me.
So I agree with you about touch screens tending to suck and why it's not fun for mobile games and whatnot. And like I do Genshin dailies on my phone sometimes or while I'm traveling, and it's always annoying. But I think that part of it is the fact that you're also on the screen that you're playing on, so you're kind of like covering screen space for what you're looking at. So I think that not having that be an issue would be a little bit of an improvement on the television versus on the phone, where on your phone you're covering the screen with your thumbs as you're doing things. But I also think that these sensors may be helpful, because part of what's frustrating when you're using that is there's no tactileness to it. You don't feel anything. And so if there are sensors, presumably they're going to continue to have their haptic feedback built into this controller, and that may alleviate some of those annoyances.
But that's not the same thing. I mean, they can make the entire thing a controller so it knows where your thumb is, and wherever your thumb is where the controller is. But it doesn't have the same feeling as that. Like, I know where my finger is whenever it's sitting there, and I know where to move it, and I know where I am.
Well, you're right. That maybe this has a solution to that. Maybe they have figured something out. I don't know.
Maybe. I tend to feel if you're wanting to be revolutionary with your controls, bank on Nintendo to do it. If you're wanting to be evolutionary, bank on Microsoft doing it. If you want somebody to throw gimmicks out for no good reason, Sony's got you covered.
So what do you think about the potential for being able to move buttons around or swap positions? Because I know a lot of people out there who have major issues with DualSense and PlayStation controllers in general because of the parallel analog sticks, and they think that they need to be offset. I personally don't really care one way or the other. I play the same just as fine either way. But I know there are some people who really can't stand one way or the other. So I'm curious, what do you think about the ability to move that around, or change where your buttons are located, or increase the size of buttons? Like, some of these features may be beneficial for games, or could lead to some interesting game design.
I think that's cool. I think anything that gives people customization options is beneficial. That's not a new feature, though. It's not a common feature, but it is in disability controllers. So I know Microsoft does make controllers for people with hand disabilities.
So does Sony. They both have them, yeah.
So that's not new, and I think there's third-party controllers that let you reposition some buttons, but I couldn't tell you what they are now. But yeah, I mean, anything that gives people options is great. Like, I like offset, but I like offset sticks better than I do the symmetrical ones. But it's not that big of a deal to me. I don't care that much.
Presumably, yeah, I'm the opposite. I prefer the parallel, symmetrical, but I don't. It doesn't matter that much to me. Presumably, this would be a cheaper price point than the accessibility controllers are, because those accessibility controllers are like $200. Like, they are not
Yeah,
cheap; they are expensive. So maybe this could be a cheaper alternative for someone who maybe doesn't have a disability, or who doesn't have the money for a disability controller, but they have the freedom to customize it. It's a patent. People patent things all the time. They don't come to fruition. You know that as well as I do, but it's still an interesting concept. I thought this was a little bit more innovative than some of the other patents we've seen come through the grapevine lately.
Sony is the one who's notorious for the McDonald's integration in their patent with you say "I'm loving it" to get it to skip the McDonald's ad on your Sony TV.
I don't have any idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's a few years ago, but they patented interactivity to skip commercials on your TV, and
Wow.
the joke was like you're watching the McDonald's commercial and you can skip the ad by yelling "I'm loving it" to your TV.
That would be awesome.
That would not be awesome.
Why?
Just it's more consumerism. I don't
Freedom to skip commercials is consumerism? That seems like it's just a time saver.
But like you're being fed more commercials. You're not going to skip it and get to your TV show for the most part. I guess you could be if you're watching recorded stuff.
I use YouTube Premium for my YouTube, and I don't watch commercials. So best value, best subscription out there is YouTube Premium, everybody. I just have to say, you will not get a better bang for buck, because it also includes YouTube Music, which means you don't need to waste money on something like Spotify or Pandora or any of those other services. You can just get all in one, and everyone uses YouTube. So,
and I will not take a position here, but I will say somebody made the joke this last week on Reddit that uBlock Origin still does not accept any kind of donations whatsoever and is 100% free.
uBlock Origin. I don't know what that is.
It's a browser plugin that lets you block content.
I see, but that doesn't help you on your TV or your PlayStation, which is where most people watch their YouTube content nowadays, I think.
You can cast from your computer, though. You can cast from your phone. You can cast from
I think you
iPhone.
Overestimate the tech-savvy nature of the general populace.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, you can't make every solution for the general populace. Some people are going to have advanced features and advanced abilities and do more things.
But if you are not one of those tech-savvy people,
spend your money on YouTube.
Where it's at. Well worth it. Well worth it. And again, YouTube Music included, all in one price. Be happy.
I do similar, but a different way. We do Apple Family, and Apple Family gets us the cloud storage for backups, and it gets us Apple Music and Apple TV and Apple Arcade, which I'm hoping. I saw that, this is a complete aside, I saw that Game Pass is getting Final Fantasy II coming up in February, which I guess is now. I think it's tomorrow whenever it comes out. And so I'm hoping that's also going to pop on Apple Arcade, because that'd be a great game just to play on your phone.
Yeah, I mean, you have Game Pass too, and you could use Game Pass cloud streaming, right, onto your phone.
Not anymore. I don't have Ultimate. I got rid of Ultimate because it went to like $30 a month, and that's absurd. Okay. So I have PC.
I see. Yeah, PC is still where the value is for that subscription.
Yep.
But, all right. Well, that's it for that patent there. I think I'm curious to see if they ever do anything with it. Sony patents things. Nintendo, at Microsoft, they always patent things, and you don't always get stuff out of it. But we really don't have a ton of iteration on the controller front. You know, the Xbox controllers never really changed. The biggest change for Sony was the PS4, since adding the dual sticks. And Nintendo kept for the Switch 2 the exact same Joy-Cons as the Switch 1 for the most part, a little bit bigger. So,
well, I've said it before, I'll say it again. The current generation PlayStation and Xbox controllers are really good. They're the best ones we've ever had. So if they didn't change them for the next generation, I'd probably be okay with that.
I agree. I absolutely agree. All right, Byron, you've got the next story here.
Yeah. So multiple game studios and executives are planning to skip the 2026 Game Developer Conference, citing safety concerns linked to increased immigration scrutiny in the United States. Curran Games Agency founder Kasia Curran outlined 4 reasons why Canadian and European developers are reluctant to attend GDC 2026. Ranked by frequency, these include San Francisco being perceived as unpleasant and inexpensive. It's at least expensive. a desire to protest the U.S. government's aggression towards their countries, concern about being required to disclose social media activity upon entering the country, and personal safety fears related to the actions of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Echoing one of these concerns, NetSpeak Games CEO Callum Cooper, writing, said his company would no longer attend GDC due to the current political situation. There's no way in good conscience I would send an employee to where I'm not willing to take the risk myself, he explained. He added that his company is both inclusive and woke, qualities he does not believe are welcome in America at the present. I try to stay not too political in this, but I think that making yourself not accepting to other people to come visit is a problem, especially whenever it's commercially related. And we're going to probably see similar things when the World Cup comes to America this summer.
Yeah, I mean, this may speak more to, I don't know, my personality than anything else, but the most amusing thing about this to me is that the number one the number one most frequent answer here is San Francisco sucks.
It's expensive. I don't think.
Okay, yeah.
I disagree on it sucking. I think it's expensive though. And
the literal quote is unpleasant and expensive. I think unpleasant and expensive translates into sucks. If they just said expensive, I would say you're right, it's too expensive. But they said unpleasant and expenve, which means it sucks.
I haven't been recently. I was there 5 years ago, and
I've never been except through the airport, so I couldn't say.
I wish we had San Francisco weather. I'll say that. I didn't find it unpleasant. I mean, it obviously could have changed in 5 years. I know they have a problem with some like petty crimes in the area, but it is expensive, and it's one of those catch-22s because the tech industry is 100% centered on San Francisco, so that's where they're going to want to pull people, and that's also the reason why it's expensive. It's one of the reasons why it's expensive. It's probably the biggest reason.
Yeah, but as for the rest of this, I don't know. I'm not from somewhere else, so I don't have to enter the US, so I can't say exactly what is happening, like when you enter the country or anything. Required to disclose social media. Like, I don't know anything about that. And then, as far as a desire to protest aggression towards their countries, like I kind of get it. I get it. The public stance of the country is very much aggressive right now. Not even towards any one particular group or people. It's not like, oh, we're standing up for the one group that America's being mean to right now. It's like literally, come at me, bro, is the stance of the official stance of the country at the moment, which is a fascinating place to live in, or rather a fascinating place to be at, not live in. I didn't mean it that way, but it's because you don't think of it that way. You think of it as like, yeah, everyone come on in, let's come in, work and grow. And America, that's what America kind of is forever. And rather than have that as the stance, to be like, come at me, bro, is weird. So I can understand people being like, no, we don't want to work with you. We're not going to do business with you if you're going to be a jerk. I get that. I definitely get that. I think 3 out of 4 of these make sense for me personally. I can understand them. If one of them being with the social media thing, I don't know about that to comment, but if that's true, it makes sense to me. Personal safety fears related to actions of ICE, I think that's pushing it on a personal level.
I think that's a luxury that you have.
It may be, but I do think it's pushing it.
I've not gone out of the country in the past year. I have had friends who have, and they did plenty of reading up on things. And one set of friends, whenever they left when they left the country, they wiped their phones. When they got to the location, they used their cloud backups to restore their phones. And when they went back into the country, they wiped their phones again. The other person got a plane phone from work and used that as their contact phone while they were there, and left their personal devices behind. So it's a real fear for people who are traveling out of the country.
Why are they doing that, though? I don't understand.
The story that I've heard, and again, I've not seen this personally, but they're looking for any kind of social media that's critical of the current administration.
I see.
They can't keep an American from coming into the country because this is where we live. They can keep foreign people out of the country if they want to. They can make your day unpleasant if you're an American.
That's true. Yeah, I don't
And
know.
I mean,
I don't. I mean, for me personally, at least, I don't post critical things of anyone really. I don't post critical commentary on the internet, so I don't have that fear on a baseline level. But I can understand there being people who do want to express their freedom of speech right to make comments and things, having that concern, even though they shouldn't be concerned about that because it's every right they have every right to do so. Uh, I understand that concern. Yeah, we're going out of the country because we have a cruise coming up in a couple months that we'll be on. So we're curious about that. But we're both U.S. citizens here, so they can't stop us from coming home.
I mean, yeah, I'll drop it there because I don't want to get more political in our video
Sure.
game and tech podcast.
Yeah.
Just make sure that you guys have everything covered whenever you come back. It's more of a concern for one of you than the other of you to me.
Yeah, I agree. Thankfully, we both have passports and everything. Easy peasy in that way. Actually, the funniest thing about all of this, Byron, is she got her passport while all of this stuff was happening, and there was like nothing so fast. She got it in like 3 weeks. Like there was it was the total opposite of everything you've been hearing about how bad it's been. It was just like I don't know. Maybe they saw Doctor and they were like, "Oh, Doctor, you're good."
Maybe.
Oh goodness.
All right, easier topic. Next one for you.
Yes, this one. This is kind of a topic to get ready for future topics if you really think about it. But rumors abound about a potential PlayStation State of Play and Nintendo Direct this month, February. Nintendo's rumors indicate that it will be held sometime this week, so it may already be announced by the time you're hearing this. And it's supposedly a partner direct. For those unaware, Partner Direct is a Nintendo Direct focused on third parties rather than Nintendo's own studios, so temper expectations about a new mainline Mario or Zelda. This will only be the third proper Nintendo Direct, one not focused on a single game / franchise, movie, or indie games, since the Switch 2 launched in June of last year, following on from another Partner Direct in July of 2025 and September 2025's Direct that focused a lot on Mario's 40th anniversary. But the big deal was the new Fire Emblem game announced. For PlayStation, the State of Play is rumored to be sometime this month, but given it's February 1st as we record this and the 2nd when it goes live, that leaves a lot of month to go. Both rumors come from noted leaker Nate the Hate. The last State of Play, a Japan-specific show that we covered in our 2nd episode, and was the best show they put on in a while, in my opinion, was in November of 2025, and the prior general one was September 2025, which showcased Wolverine for the first time since it was announced. No details about what may be in this State of Play have been leaked yet. Byron.
Have any of those games been released?
Any of which games?
The November and September State of Plays.
I don't remember offhand. I can tell you that the partner showcase for Nintendo had a couple things released. At the very least, the Octopath Traveler 0 was announced in July and came out in December. So some games through here have been released. I think that some of the stuff, I mean, I'd have to pull up the list of what was in these showcases, but some of those things I'm sure have come out. I just don't know what exactly.
I prefer things that are closer to fruition being teased than I do games coming out. Like, again, when Grand Theft Auto 6 was announced, I was like, cool, I'll play that sometime. I didn't get worked up on it like a lot of people did because there's more things that I'm going to do before that comes out.
Mm-hmm. So DLC for Digimon Story came out. That was announced in the Japan State of Play November. The Dragon Quest Reimagined was shown off there, and that comes out in 4 days from now, 3 days from launch. And then the Dynasty Warriors Origins DLC came out already. Elden Ring Night Rain DLC came out. So there's a few things that have come out since that one that were discussed there. Title update for Monster Hunter was released. I'm just checking through here. And then obviously Octopath Traveler 0 as mentioned. So yeah, at least in the November one, there have been a handful of things that were shown and released since then. So November, December, January, February, so 3 months since that one and 5 months since the other. That's a pretty good cadence for shows, I would say.
Yeah. It's not as bad as I was expecting when I was looking at Wolverine sitting there. Who knows when that's coming out?
Yeah, that has does that have a release date? I think it has a release date. Um, I'm trying to remember what that release date is. Wolverine release date. It just says fall right now, so it is not. But it's supposed to be fall.
2026.
Yeah, fall of this year. Yeah, yes, fall of 2026 is what it says. Excuse me. Yeah, Battlefield 6 was shown off the campaign trailer, so that came out. Looking at September. Oh, Code Vein 2. That just came out
Last week. Yep.
yesterday, 2 days ago. Crimson Desert had a showcase there. That's out in next month. Dynasty Warriors 3 was delayed, so that's not out. But that was out. It was supposed to be coming out. Wolverine, obviously. Neo 3, that's coming out. So we are basically approaching a handful of things that were discussed in the last couple state of plays actually coming out. So I guess that means it's time for a new state of play, you know?
So, real quick, Neo 3 had a demo that was put out last week, I believe.
Yeah.
A friend of the show, MG, played it. And he's like, hey, you should play that if you're looking for some to play, which I'll talk about later. And I said, well, I played 2, and I remember being frustrated by it and not getting much out of it other than being frustrated. And his response was, that's a fair assessment, and I don't think you're going to like this one even more. He says, now the stances have stances. And I'm like, oh, cool.
Neo is, from what I hear, the hardest of the Souls-likes out there. Like, it is exceptionally difficult.
Yeah, it was just a frustrating level. Like, spoiler, I picked up Elden Ring again. But like in those games, like it's you play and you learn and you get better, and then you feel good whenever you accomplish whatever thing that you've been working on for a while. And Neo didn't have the same feel. But yeah, that's my soapbox about Neo right now.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see what these things are. I don't get particularly interested in Nintendo's partner directs, because most third-party things, if they're coming to Switch 2, that means they're probably coming to other consoles, and I play things on Switch 2 if they're not available elsewhere for the most part. So for me, it's not that exciting. Maybe they'll have another Fire Emblem Warriors game because they just did the Zelda Warriors that came out last year. But yeah, so that's whatever to me. I want to see their next real direct, that because maybe they'll have something more interesting. And I really want more information about Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. I'm so excited for that. I still have the Three Hopes little cartridge sitting in my Switch 2 waiting to play it. I just need to find an opportunity. But I've got so many other things that I'm playing, and we'll talk about what I'm playing right now, that I've just like become obsessed with in terms of like what I'm thinking about, what I'm doing, and how many ridiculous amounts of hours I put in over 1 week into this game, which is just outrageous. But yeah, I don't have any other thoughts on this one here. So if you have nothing else to say, let's just move on to the final news story here.
Yeah, per Tom Henderson tweet, I'm never going to call it X. Following last week's Ubisoft changes, internal communications have become full of employees shaming upper management and asking for change. Some are saying this is the final nail in the coffin and they'll be seeking employment elsewhere or have fast-tracked their existing contingency plans. We talked about Ubisoft last week. We've talked about the game industry in general.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, it's not in a good place. I meant to put this in here, and I think I copied the script after I typed this in here. But there was a related story this week.
No, it's here. I have it.
I didn't copy it, but in a survey at a recent game developer conference, a third of game developers said that they have changed jobs in the past year, and I think it was, I don't want to say got fired, but
you said let go in your write up here.
Okay, let go. And so, yeah, it's not a great place. And there's talk of AI tools to create games. And there's some studios are going down the AI rabbit hole more than other ones are. And some are turning it down. So it really feels like the game industry is in a inflection point right now.
Mm. Yeah, I saw something related to Ubisoft earlier in the week. I couldn't find a news story on it or anything. And I didn't really think it was that much worth having its own story, but it is connected where their union, the Ubisoft union, is calling for an all-out strike for like the entire company. Did you see that story?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I don't know how big their union is. I mean, they're a largely European
French,
company.
so probably most of the company. they're French and Canadian, like they are in France and they are in Canada. So those are all heavily unionized companies up in those regions. So I'm not sure either the exact number or percentage. I just know that they had said the whole company should go on strike because of these changes there. But so I've heard different opinions on all of this. Ubisoft was a ginormous company. Like at one point, it was something like
20 billion.
20,000 people.
Oh, 28 people. Yeah, it was like a $5 billion company or something like that.
Yeah, it was a very valuable company, but it was a very large company. It had tens of thousands of people working for it at one point. And they've obviously cut back and closed studios and whatnot. And the question always comes down to what is right sizing because you're too big for what you do, and what is greed and you're just trying to save more money to make extra money. And I feel like that's the constant balance. That's the eternal question in business of what do we actually need versus what's the bare minimum that we need versus what can we actually support versus what do we wish we were, you know? And I find that software companies are always trying to find ways to cut people, and the AI craze, as you were saying, has enabled this a little bit more.
So I agree and disagree just based on the idea that I don't think business in general looks at it that way. I think business that has investors they have to answer to, whether they're private investors as in private equity or their shareholders,
right.
I think they look at it that way.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
When you're an independent company, I think that you have the luxury of saying, what do we want to be?
Well, everyone is owned in some way, shape, or form. Like whether you're owned by the employees or owned as a solo proprietor.
Yes, but if it's an independently owned studio, then you're more likely to have ownership who's invested in the purpose of the studio. True. And not as a money-making organization. If you're a shareholder, you want the company to make great things because you want a return on your investment.
Right.
That's it. If I own a company, most likely I want the company to do well because I have a stake in the company personally and I have a vision for what I want the company to be.
Yeah. I don't understand the trend away from paying out dividends for companies that you're invested in anymore. To me, isn't the whole point of investing in a company so that you get a share of the profits? But no, like I've looked at stocks and things, and all these places say, oh, we don't pay dividends. Like, then why am I invested in your company? What am I getting out of it? I'm just getting a higher stock price so that I can sell it. Is that what I'm trying to get out of it without a dividend? Like that's so weird to me.
I know that we have a listener who will probably leave a comment about that and explain the differences because he's way more savvy in stock work than I am. But yeah, it seems like the old school stocks are ones that pay out dividends and the newer ones don't pay out dividends. I know that whenever I get dividends, I just reinvest them back in the stock. So, but I mean, I assume if you own enough shares or something, you could live off the dividends if you're that.
Yeah, but no one pays dividends, so you don't. That's the problem. Like that's
Disney pays dividends.
I don't know if I'm invested in Disney. I don't pay attention that closely to each individual stock that my financial advisor handles. But yeah, I know that when I look into it, because I like to play with, a couple $100 every so often and try and pick a stock that I think is low but undervalued and whatnot. And I always look at them just to get information. And the first thing I see is we don't pay dividends. And I'm like, then what? So I'm literally just buying your stock because I think it's low so I can sell it when it's higher. Like that's it. There's no long-term investment. It's like, why would I not want dividends in a stock? And I hope your friend comments on this. I would love to understand it better because I've never asked this question to my financial advisor. Maybe I'll ask him next time I speak with him. His name is Stefano. Nice guy. Yeah. So I don't know. I hope that these developers who were let go find jobs. I hope that Ubisoft makes it through because I do love Assassin's Creed a lot. I know that that's a controversial stance to have sometimes, but I do very much enjoy Assassin's Creed games. And I hope this Black Flag remake. I've seen the reports of the Black Flag remake delay and all that stuff that happened with Ubisoft. People are really, really, really poorly reporting on it because what I have seen a bunch of people say is that Ubisoft delays games 1 year. The Black Flag remake that was supposed to come out in April has been delayed 1 year. And I'm like, okay, that would be weird. And then I actually look at what the Ubisoft statement was on it, and it was, these 7 games have been delayed up to 1 year. And I'm like, okay, that's a different story. It is not the same thing to say up to 1 year as it is to say delayed 1 year. That is a very different thing, because a delay of up to 1 year could mean that, oh, this game that we were going to release in April of this year, we're actually going to release it in June because we wanted to polish it an extra couple months. Like, it could be that, or it could be as bad as, nope, we need the whole year. We're going to take a whole year and, back to formula, which would not be enough in a year and is a Spider-Man reference. But I just hate how badly that's been reported. Have you seen that too? Have you heard about like the difference in the reporting of that those delay story?
I haven't paid that much attention to that part of it.
Yeah. Well, that's because you don't pay attention to the games until they're actually about to come out.
Yeah, I mean, but my feelings about Ubisoft is they used to be a very creative place, and they would release games that did things that other games didn't do. I mean, if you remember when Assassin's Creed came out, was it perfect? No. Was it an awesome concept? Yeah. And it feels like, and this may not be 100% fair, I'm sure you have examples of where it's not fair, but instead of becoming a place that is rewarding creativity, they're a place that is rewarding repeating revenue, recurring revenue from just the same titles, iterate them, pump them out. People are going to buy the new Assassin's Creed.
No, I think that's fair. I think that is accurate. But the difference is I'm okay with that. That's what I want. I want the same games with new stories in them. I don't want the creativity, really. I'm not in it for the creativity.
I want both. Like I like Assassin's Creed. I would rather there not be an Assassin's Creed game every year if it's going to make it a better game, because there has been crap in the Assassin's Creed franchise.
Yeah.
But I also want the new stuff. Without new stuff, you're never going to get an Assassin's Creed.
I like my reliable junk food. I like the
No
Dorito that I know is always going to taste like a spicy nacho Dorito, even though it's not good for you and it's not particularly inventive, but I know exactly what I'm going to get and I know I'm going to enjoy it. It's going to taste good. And that's the kind of thing that Assassin's Creed fills for me, is that I know I'm going to get a fun game. I know it's going to be an interesting story. I'm invested in it already. I like that sort of thing. And then when I want to try something new, I'll go and I'll play Stray Gods or I'll go and I'll play the other game that I'm going to talk about later that I don't want to spoil just yet. Like, I will seek out the creativity, but I like having that reliable, repeatable junk food game.
But you're not getting that creativity from Ubisoft. You're getting it from
I'll get it
developers.
elsewhere. That's fine. I will go other places.
But
you need your junk food makers and you need your creative makers.
At some point, the bottom's going to fall out of an existing franchise. Yeah. People are going to get tired of it, and you're either going to have to evolve or die. And
that's what they did when they stopped making them after Syndicate and paused to make Origins a few years later. Like, they did that pause and they refreshed it, and it was great. I love Syndicate, but I think Origins is a really great game. And then they came out with Odyssey, which I think is like the second or third best Assassin's Creed. Like, they made a top 3 Assassin's Creed game easily after a nice little break with a refresh.
That's not exactly what I was getting at. It's more that you've got to find that creativity, and whether you're doing it in Assassin's Creed, I think you also have to have those new franchises. I think Ubisoft has to do new things because, again, Assassin's Creed will not live forever. Nothing has lived forever. I guess the closest thing that has lived forever is going to be a Mario, and Nintendo does things that other places don't do, and Mario's got a cult following that no other game is ever going to have except for like a Zelda.
Yeah. Well, we'll see where it ends up. Best wishes to anyone who does get impacted at Ubisoft, obviously, and we'll see. Maybe we'll get a better version of Expedition 33 from them.
I mean, if you can improve on Perfect, by all means.
All right, let's move on to what we're playing here then. Byron, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. So yeah, I continued with Nier this last week on the live stream. I still like Nier. Is it my favorite thing in the world? No. The map is frustrating. I wish there were better quest markers. Continuing to have run across the world kind of is frustrating to me, but I'm still curious what the storyline goes. So yeah, if you watched it, cool. If not, it's out there to watch. Um, in the idea of new things, I also played Super World and showed that off for probably 20 minutes whenever I did live stream. That was given to me, I guess, last week. And I've enjoyed Super World. I haven't gotten a chance to play it this weekend because I've had other things going on, but I still enjoy Super World. Nothing new to talk about. It's the same as last week. It's still puzzles, and no real special things have evolved or surfaced in the last week. But the next one that I want to talk about has changed. I keep saying that I'm going to finish Ball Pit, and then I'm going to stop Ball Pit, and then I finish Ball Pit, and I didn't stop playing Ball Pit because I still liked Ball Pit. I don't know that it was announced beforehand, but I think last Monday, a title update to Ball Pit was dropped with new balls, new characters, new evolutions, and so I.
What about new pits? Any new pits?
No, there were no new levels. There's promise of even more new stuff coming out. But yeah, I'm playing through Ball Pit with the new characters, and I've been enjoying that. I burned through all the new evolutions. Some of them were a super pain in the butt to get through, but I did it.
Good job.
And I'm proud of myself. There were no new achievements, so I still am sitting on all the old achievements that I got through. I did completely platinum, or whatever you want to call it, on Steam with Ball Pit. Ball Pit is still tremendous fun. I bought it at $11, and I feel like I stole money from them at $11.
Like Joe I said, you start buying it for other people.
I don't know any, like the other person I know who would play it already is playing it, and we talk about it. Maybe we'll do a giveaway coming up if we can get enough
buy
people.
A code and do a giveaway here. Yeah.
If we can get, how about this? If we can get 10 comments for people in the video who would like Ball Pit, just comment and say, buy me Ball Pit or go to hell. Joe will not get that reference, but comment, buy me Ball Pit and go to hell, or go to hell. If I can get 10 of those in the comments from different people, I will select one at random and I will buy them a copy of Ball Pit. I love it
just
that much.
Just one?
No. I'm not going to make it easy for the one person to do it. I want to see 10 in 2 weeks. I will cut it off on Sunday. Today is the 1st, so 8th, and then the 15th. I will cut it off on the 15th of February. Leave a comment on the YouTube video, buy me Ball Pit or go to hell. 10 of them, I will pick one at random. I will give a copy of Ball Pit out.
All right. Sounds like a plan to me.
Yeah, and so then the last game that I've been playing, I think, nothing else, I did finish Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, and I have liked the game the more that I played it. I think that it's a very good game. It would probably be like a 8.5 or a 9 for me. I liked it more. The last game that was a big game that I finished was Outer Worlds 2. I liked it more than Outer Worlds 2. It was less problematic. There were some things that I liked and some things that I didn't like about it. For one, there are different ways you can play the game in terms of combat. You're given all kinds of weapons, all kinds of guns that you can pick up and use from Nazis or brown shirts or whoever. But the game really tries to suggest that you should be playing this stealthy, which you should, because you're one guy against an entire Nazi army. And the odds are not in your favor if you're a professor at a college and you pick up a gun. So it almost feels like
Unless
lot of this was
of guns.
Well, but you're not. You're Indiana Jones. You're a professor of archaeology. That's the story. So yeah, it tries to tell you, and this is the way that I played, that you should play it stealth. So, it feels like there's a lot of wasted content for like the gun aspect of the game, and you pick up guides that give you more damage and guns and the ability to reload guns faster. And it almost feels like it's just wasted. Part of the reason why I didn't finish it at start was the first real level was the Vatican. And I did not like it, and I still do not like it. The level, the design was confusing. You were in courtyards, you were in the Vatican proper, and you had to have different costumes on for different areas. So you could only enter certain parts of the Vatican if you had your priest costume on. I thought the navigation was difficult. Like, whenever you're looking at buildings and you have to be on different floors of the building, and you can only get to one part of the building from another part of the building. And then there's a whole catacomb section that was very difficult to orient. I really did not like that level, but the later levels I liked a whole lot more. There was a Giza level, and it was a little boring just because it was so wide open, because it is spoilers, the desert. And then the last one was the jungles of Southeast Asia, and most of it was boat travel. And honestly, like, the boat travel was frustrating because, I mean, come on, like, boats are not the most agile method of transportation in the world.
No.
But I enjoyed it. I thought it was a well put together level. The sub areas in it were super fun to play in, and the story was great. The story was fantastic. It's a proper Indiana Jones story. It has the same grandiose spectacle. Spoiler alert for Joe: Indiana Jones, the first movie, Raiders of the Lost Ark, is about the Ark of the Covenant. So it, in terms
Yeah.
of like biblical things, that's a pretty big deal. And this one, I don't want to spoil it because it is more recent, does have the same level of this is what it's all about that the other ones do. So the Indiana Jones story is fitting, which is always a concern whenever you adapt something from a popular movie to a video game. The voice acting is very good. I really think my only problem with the game is I really didn't like the first level. And then the other thing that is part of that is there's collectibles all around the world. And I think that it's akin to go back to Assassin's Creed 1, where there was crap all over the map to pick up. And there's different kinds of things. So in each level, there's lost artifacts of Europe or lost artifacts of Asia or whatever else. Then there are these other items that you pick up, and then you collect 50 of them throughout the game to open up a secret level at the end. And then there's the books that give you skill up abilities. And then there's just things you take pictures of and random notes that tell you different parts of the story. And those daggum things are all over the place. So I collected all the artifacts. I collected all of the little ancient whatever things. I did all of the puzzles. I did all of the skill books, because you can buy map updates with, in-game currency that you find throughout the levels to buy them to highlight on your map. But then I looked at all of the little notes on the field and how much I hated the Vatican level. I was like, no, there's just no way that I'm doing this. When I had to go into the catacombs below the Vatican and spent 30 minutes trying to figure out how to get back out of the damn thing, when I was looking for one of the artifacts, that's what solidified me into saying, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to achievement hunt for this. And there was a split second after I finished the game where I thought, maybe I should leave it installed. I'll get bored and then I'll go back and get all these notes. And then I said, no, don't be an idiot. And I clicked uninstall, and I'll probably, I'm not going to replay the game. I'm not going to play it on New Game Plus. I liked it. And that maybe means that it's unfair to say it's like an 8.5 or a 9, but it was a fantastic first playthrough once I got past that first level. And if you're at all an Indiana Jones fan or just an adventure game fan, then I recommend it. You don't have to do most of the combat in the game. You can sneak your way through things. If you want to go try to fight your way through it, great. Best wishes.
Okay. I'm glad that you ended up enjoying the game in the long run there. I have not heard anyone that I've heard talk about this game say that the Vatican level was so bad. I think it actually sold a lot of people on the game. So it's interesting to hear you have such a strong negative reaction to it.
I mean, it's pretty. It's kind of interesting to be in 1930s Italy, considering what was going on there at the time.
Sure.
It wasn't so much the level that I hated as much as the level navigation. It was just confusing and never knowing how to get from one place to the other, looking at the map and saying, okay, well, can I go here? No, you can't go that way because there's closed windows or crap like that. That's what I hated. Mm-hmm. And when in conversations with the friend that I've talked about a lot when I talked about Ball Pit, he said the levels get worse as you go along. And I disagree. I thought they got better. I liked the last level, the last full level, the best, because there's 3 open world levels, and then in between there's probably 4 or 5 really linear levels, and I don't count those just because there's only one way to go and there's not really anything missable in those.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, the Vatican level is super pretty, and it's cool to see the Sistine Chapel. But yeah, I can't be the only one who thought it was extremely confusing.
No flash photography allowed in the Sistine Chapel. That is, when I was there, they were like, no flash photography.
You have a camera. It doesn't give you the option of a flash, though.
Well, that makes sense because they probably didn't have portable flashes at that time.
Sure, they did. They
Did
had
they?
to have
I
the
don't know
little.
when.
I don't know when they started either, but I feel like the idea of the little cubes that had a
Yeah, the
battery
flash
that,
cube. Yeah.
yeah, like that can't. I don't know. It's not worth looking up.
When did flash cubes start in cameras? This is tech. We're a tech podcast.
Before that, they had
Flash
the little
cubes were
stick.
introduced in 1965.
Oh wow! So 25 to 30 years after this.
Mm-hmm.
So they had the guy who had the little stick with the lithium or whatever on it that
Right.
sparked.
Yeah. Huh. So yeah, I would have no idea. It was a Kodak thing, which is, pertinent for my Rochester location here.
Almost everything that was a photography advance up until like what the 2000s was a Kodak thing. That's why Kodak became Kodak.
Yeah, it's true. Well, sounds like you enjoyed Indiana Jones. What's next what's on deck for you now that you're seemingly closed out of all of your major games other than Nier?
I don't 100% know. I did pick up Elden Ring again, and I realized that I was at the end of the game, so I think I'm going to try to get over the finish line with Elden Ring. I do have Red Dead Redemption 1 to play. Witcher 3 I have to play. There's new stuff that's coming out.
Dragon Quest.
So I talked about Dragon Quest 7. I was complaining to my wife that I enjoyed the demo. It looks neat, but I have a problem paying $60 for it, or $75 if you want early access of 2 days and whatever kind of worthless crap they give you with it. Mm-hmm. And her comment to me was, well, your birthday's coming up. Maybe you'll get an early birthday present. So we'll see. I'm not going to buy that for myself at that price. I would like to play Dragon Quest 1 and 2, but I want to see a bigger discount.
It's on sale now.
It is 20% off. I want to see a bigger discount than that.
Oh, is it 20? I thought I saw it for more than that. I thought I saw it down to like $40. 20.
It's something like that, but I took a 20% discount.
Is it? I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah. It was the same as it was right before Christmas during the winter sale. Yeah,
it'll probably get cheaper in the next 6 months or so.
Yeah,
probably around the summer sale.
There's a big Square sale going on right now on Steam.
Is it cheaper than you thought, or?
Oh, I'm still looking for it on the.
Just search.
I figured to be on the front page, but it is 20% off, $47.99. Yep.
Yeah. See.
Yeah, Square Enix Winter Sale. So if you're looking for Square games, they're all on sale. If you've liked watching me play Nier Automata, it is on sale for $16 right now.
Good deal. Good deal.
Life is Strange Double Exposure, $25.
Great game. Really, really, really wonderful game. I gave that a 9. I loved that so much. I guess that's controversial with some fans of it, but I thought they really did a good job with Max. And I will be playing and reviewing the reunion when it comes out. I don't know if we'll get early access to it or anything, or if it'll just be one that I have to buy and play after release. But I will be playing that game for sure. Absolutely.
Not to belabor a previously discussed point, but Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The list price is $95 and the sale price is $48. That is sure, it's a lot of content, but it's also games that are 40 plus years old. Anyway.
Oh man.
All right. So how about you? What have you been playing? Because I know that you're excited to talk about one of them.
I am. So I did finish Stray Gods, the role-playing musical. I said last week I was about halfway. I think I finished it later that night afterwards. I was about halfway, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less, something like that. I was around the halfway point there. It was great. I really enjoyed it. I did not play the DLC yet. I'll wait and see if that DLC goes on sale. I don't really want to spend $10 for the DLC for it because it is very limited in what you're actually doing. It is just listening to the music and then choosing dialogue options. But it was great. I really enjoyed it a lot. It was a fun story. I'd really like to see this this world in a game where you do more, not necessarily just in the visual style, the visual novel style click through things. It would be fun to maybe explore a world and run around and maybe not fight because your powers aren't really fighting your music, but even still, it would be exciting, I think, to have a world to explore and get to know the characters more. Maybe play as a different character. Maybe you don't have to play as the one that you play as in the main game. But that was fun. I do recommend it to anyone who sounds even remotely interested in the idea of a musical where you pick dialogue choices mid song and it changes the lyrics, and it's a fun story. So, highly recommended to people who are fans of that. If you're into action or you need a more thrilling activity, probably not for you. So Byron, you may like this one. I think you would enjoy it.
I did put it on my wish list, so if I ever see it go on
Okay,
super sale, I may grab it. I don't love the comic book style games that
I'm with you
much, but
there. But in terms of length, I can tell you how long it was now that I'm done. It was only 7 hours or so. So you're really not like that's a night or 2 nights of investment. You're really not diving deep into any sort of long game there. It's no Red Dead or Witcher or anything like that. So I enjoyed that one, and then I finally decided it was time to give a game that I had only just bought over the holiday sale recently, so not that long, but a game that I'd been interested in for a few months now, a couple months. Solasta Crown of the Magister. Solasta Crown of the Magister is a CRPG. It's a computer role playing game. It is along the lines of the Baldur's Gate 3s of the world and whatnot. It is an adaptation of 5th edition, Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. It's got some homebrew rules and some custom stuff in there, which is interesting. Some special, unique subclasses. They got some special permissions from Wizards of the Coast to do a few things unique and bring some things that weren't necessarily in the open license that they use. They got some permissions, so that's cool. But it is a double A game. Byron, this is the most double A game I have played in my entire life, and it is great. What do you want to know about it? Let's start there, because you like things like this, I think. So ask me some questions.
so here's the first thing I'll ask. I understand the difference between like a top shelf game and a AAA game. I don't understand why there needs to be delineation between A, double A, and triple A. So explain why it is not a triple A game and why it is not a single A game. What makes a double A game?
So I don't really think there is a single A game. I think of it as triple A games, double A games, and indie games. And it's not a triple A game because it is very ugly a lot of the time. The character models are horrific. They are terrifying to look at. Not all the time. I'm exaggerating. They're not terrifying to look at. Let me rephrase that. They are clearly a lower polygon, not as highly detailed level of character model. There's not a ton of animation in their faces or in their movements, so it's all very like budget in that regard. It's also not AAA because it's not the best voice acting in the world. You're dealing probably with Steve and his grandfather Billy and his daughter Trisha, and they're the voice actors, like just
So
random people that they just
so
got off
why
the
even
street.
why assign that a double A? Why not just say that is a normal game?
Because it's more than an indie game. Because it's not an indie game. I mean, I think it actually is independently developed, but it's not an indie game because it has some level of production value to it. It actually has. I mean, to me, it's like I'm trying to think of a game that it's similar in production to, but like
Well,
it's not in. Go ahead.
so smart ass jokes aside, like what is Expedition 33 then? It is not a triple A game. It is not from a big studio with a gigantic budget. At the same time, it is super polished and well done.
Yeah, Expedition 33 is a high-end double A game. It is on that border of a game that would be a triple A game if they'd put more money behind it, if they'd cleaned up some of the the issues that that game has as a nature of as a double A game. This is on the lower end of that scale of pure
We're, we're splitting
graphical
split
fidelity.
hairs.
Well, no, I mean this is I think this is more fun to play than Expedition 33 is by miles. It's miles more fun than Expedition 33 is. Expedition 33's budget went into looking good and having a story that
But
was
that's a
okay.
that's opinion and not an objective measure of what level the game is at based on development and
But where the budget,
funding.
but I mean the budget itself, like this game does not have. It's I mean it's a homemade engine. Like it's not using Unreal or Unity or anything. So it's using a cheaper version of an engine to keep costs down. It's using cheaper voice actors who are not going to be paid high dollar amounts. It has a lot of inconsistencies between the words that are actually said and the dialogue that's being written on the bottom. Like they're not reading the same script. Like it missed an editing pass. Like this was a game that clearly did not have the full budget of a full studio behind it. And also, Expedition 33 is published by Kepler. It is a published game. It's not like it's a smaller studio, but it still was, tens of millions of dollars. And I don't think that this game was tens of millions of dollars to be made.
All right, well, we can move ahead. I want to go on record saying that I think the entire indie versus double A versus triple A thing is silly. I see a place for triple A games for big studio games, but I don't know that we need to split hairs amongst that.
All right, well,
So
let me just say this: Solasta was a 2019 Kickstarter campaign, and it raised $270,000.
I mean,
So, like that's what it is. They raised $270,000. I don't know if they got additional funding outside of that, but that's how much money this game was built off of. So it walks that line of indie to double A.
So I guess the next question I have is I recently tried to play Divinity, and it's by the same studio that makes Baldur's Gate, but where I really enjoyed BG3, I did not really enjoy Divinity Original Sin. And a lot of it was repetitive. What percentage of Baldur's Gate 3 is this game?
What percentage of Baldur's Gate 3?
Like, is it 85% as good as Baldur's Gate 3? Is it 50% as good as Baldur's Gate 3?
Oh, okay. It's probably 65 to 70%.
Okay, that's where I would tag Divinity as well. But I mean, again, Divinity's biggest problem wasn't that it sucked. Its biggest problem is that it was repetitive, which I'll repeat many times to beat home.
Yeah, it's probably in terms of like when you compare them, it's probably 65 to 70% the quality of Baldur's Gate 3. But when you think about the cost of that went into the development of Baldur's Gate 3 versus the tiny baby cost of making this game, it's a big difference there. And for what they did, I mean, I'm 40 hours in, just about 40 hours into this game already over the last week. And it's still going. And they have 2 DLCs that I need to do afterwards. One's a continuation of the story. One's a separate thing. It had a lot of support on the back end of it. It's fun. If you like Baldur's Gate because you like the style of gameplay that is Baldur's Gate and that is, turn-based Dungeons and Dragons style combat, like that's what this is. That is what this is. It's got classes and subclasses. It doesn't have multi-classing in its original form. It's got all the same stats. It's really just not as well written, and it just doesn't look as good as what Baldur's Gate 3 does. And it's got an interesting world. I'm very fascinated by the world that it's set in, the world of Solasta, and the story is fun. Like I'm enjoying the story, but it's one of those things where for example, early in the game, you get a crown of the Magister is what it's called. You get the crown, and your goal is to get the gems that slot into the crown. And so your character, you pick one of your 4 characters that you create, and you do create 4 characters, and you put them into the game, and you play as all 4 of them. And you pick which one you want to wear the crown, and whoever wears the crown can't leave their head. I didn't know that going in. Can't leave their head, so you're stuck with that on their head. And then that character's all like, I sense this crown is sending me to go to this location. I need to go over there. And then you decide to go over there. I had to get these stones. And what ends up happening is you go to the council who you work for, and they're like, we want to see the crown. And then you have like a flashback dream sequence thing. And you basically are just said that you can't take the crown off your head, or it makes you angry, makes the crown angry. And they discover that you need to go and get the gems for it. So you're like, all right, I'm going to go get the gems. Where do I go get the gems? I'm being told where to get the gems by the crown. So you go to this location and you don't know anything about the gems. You just know you have to get a gem. And then when you get there, you get attacked by some things or whatever. And the first person that you can talk to, he's like, what are you here for? And one of your characters goes, oh, we're here to get the necromancy gem. And I'm like, we are? When did you learn that? How did you know you were getting the necromancy gem? Just because you were attacked by a bunch of skeletons? How did you even know that the gem was about a certain type of magic? Like, what is this? So there are these inconsistencies in the writing, in the storytelling, that are just, they're oversights. They're little things that you would catch if you had more money, if you had more time to put into the game, you know?
Or somebody who was the continuity manager.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But all of these things are resolved by bigger budgets.
But video game logic, like you said, if you're fighting skeletons, you know you're doing a necromancy type thing. And so obviously the skeletons would be guarding a necromancy gem or necromancy staff or something.
But
you did know because the skeletons were there.
But we didn't know that there were different types of gems in the first place. We didn't know it would have been a necromancy gem. As far as we knew, it was just a gem for the crown. It wasn't until I just discovered that it was a necromancy gem that I was like, oh, it's a gem based on the type of magic.
So you got the soul stone. Are there other different color stones to get as well, like a reality stone? 8 stones. Oh, there are 8 stones. Okay, so it goes on the knuckles of and
no,
not
it's a crown. Like it's a crown. It's just a crown. So it's actually funny. There's 8 stones and there are 7 slots in the crown for some reason. So I'm not sure what that's all about. If that's just a design error, which it probably is. But yeah, so it's been interesting in that regard. And so not quite the same level of interactivity as Baldur's Gate. You can't just like jump anytime you want or throw anything you want. Like there are limits to this game. But the reason that I'm excited for it and why I'm really particularly enjoying is because they have a sequel to this game entering early access next month in March called Solasta 2. And I've seen some trailers and some previews of Solasta 2, and it looks like they have amped it up like crazy, and it looks awesome. So I'm playing this game to prep myself for the 2027 launch of Solasta 2, because I'm not going to play it in early access when it comes out next month in early access. But I am playing it, and it's really cool because you have all of these options that I didn't know. So I didn't know when I started this game that I had to make 4 characters. I just made a random character like I do. I just made a character, gave it a name, whatever. And then I tried to start the game, and it was like, you need 4 characters. Please pick one of the other pre-made characters or make 3 more. I was like, okay, I guess I'll make 3 more characters. So what I decided to do was I made characters based off of people I knew. So I have my main character who's just a random one, and that's the one I gave the crown to. And then I made my friend Brooks, and Brooks is a monk with a philosopher background. I made friend of the show Koala. I named his character Ko-Walla, first name Ko, last name Walla. And he is a cleric because he plays healers when we play games together. He's usually healing me, so I made him a cleric with an acolyte background. And then the last one, and he's a Sylvan elf, and Brooks is a halfling. He's a marsh halfling. And I made Jing.
So you better made Jing.
I did. I made Jing.
So why is she not a healer?
Because I made her something that I thought she would find cool. So I made her character's name is Jing Purr, because she likes cats. Jing Purr, with 2 R's. And, Jing Purr. And I made her a tiefling warlock. So she is a red-skinned, devil-looking creature with a tail and horns.
I hope she doesn't listen to this episode.
And I told her all about this already. And so I made her a tiefling warlock. And warlocks they make pacts with entities that give them powers. So I made her a timekeeper warlock. So she basically made a deal with time, and she controls time. in some ways, and her background is as a spy.
That was
And I
Doctor Strange's plot.
and I told her that this is what I made her, and I said why I made her these things, and I thought that she'd like it. And she looked at me with this look, and she was just like, "How did you know I would like that so much?" And I was like, "Because I know you, dear, and we've been dating for 3 years. I know, I know what you would like. I knew she would love to be a devil-looking creature that was a warlock making a pact with time, who was a spy backer. Like that's exactly the kind of thing that she would like." So she loved it, and I sent her her picture of her character, and she loved the picture of her character. Uh, and her character is very funny. She's a very funny character because they're all voiced. Again, they are not good voice actors, but they are all very funny, and they're all voiced. Uh, and you have to keep this party. There is like you occasionally get guest members in the party that are there for like a particular quest or whatever, but they do go away pretty quickly after that quest is over. So you are just with the four characters most of the time. And they banter with each other and they talk back and forth. And they're supposed to speak like the personality traits that you give them. Like all of my characters have a level of lawfulness to one another, or in one another to make sure that they're like law abiding characters. But I don't know how much that's really shining through right now. I can't tell. It doesn't seem like it's very particularly well implemented. Maybe I'm just missing it because I haven't seen what alternatives would be like if they were greedy characters or cautious characters along the alignment spectrum of good and evil and all that. So I don't know, but nonetheless, that is a thing that's there. And then you have your spells and your spell slots if you're a magic user, and you have your weapons and your enchanted items. And there's like factions that have a reputation system, and you can't max out every faction's reputation. It's very limited in that regard. And they each, yeah, I know, and they each give you. But the only purpose of the reputation is that they give you access to particular types of items. So if you want magic items like boots that fly and gauntlets of ogre strength or belts of ogre strength, you need the antiquarians. And if you want magical armor, then you want the arcanum and just things like that. It doesn't seem like it's that involved. It doesn't. I don't think there are multiple outcomes for this game. It doesn't seem like it. Occasionally, you can make choices like, do I want to give this holy axe to the guy who asked for it, or do I keep it for myself, or do I want to sneak up and attack the bad guy, or steal a key and have a frontal assault on him with more support? So there are choices that impact the gameplay, but I don't think the story changes from any of these things in my experience yet.
So it sounds like you give the axe to the guy and then you kill him and take it back.
It doesn't give that level of freedom. Like I said, it's not as interactive as Baldur's Gate is. But it's fun is the thing. I'm really having fun playing the game. Maybe because I like Dungeons and Dragons style games and I enjoy that. And I think that the game itself is quality. It's still good. It's not done, even though it was done for cheap, it wasn't done on the cheap. Like they clearly put a lot of love and care into this game. And it seems to have done well enough because they have Solasta 2 coming out. And it's going to do early access. And it's been a few years. I think this game released in 2021 originally, and they had a couple of DLC, like I said, and it came out through 2023. So they've been quiet a few years, and now they've got the next one. And the next one looks like a huge improvement in pretty much everything. There's a world map in this game, but the world map here is really just you walking from location to location, and the only thing that happens on the road is you get attacked by enemies every so often. So it's not that involved. There's crafting in the game. You can, like, some of the best armor and weapons you make is from crafting them, but you get the recipes from the factions. So you have to like plan out which factions you want to get your reputation with, if you want to get certain recipes, things like that. Yeah, I'm really enjoying my time with it. Like I said, 40 hours, give or take, in it already. I don't know if I'm going to have all of it done by the time Dragon Quest comes out on Thursday. I think I'll at least have the main story done. And then I'll try and get as much of the DLC done if I can. But yeah, the one DLC looks like it's a continuation because it goes up to character level 16. And then the other one, I guess, is a separate campaign. You're supposed to have different adventurers, so I'm supposed to make another batch of characters for the other DLC or something. I don't know. I'll look into it more once I get there. But for now, it's great. It's a really great game. Any other questions about it? Anything you're curious on? Any interest in checking it out?
I liked Baldur's Gate 3. I liked it a lot. I just don't know that I'm looking for something else like that after playing through as much of Divinity as I did right now.
Yeah, having not played Divinity, I can't say if it's better than Divinity Original Sin or not. It's definitely a smaller budget than Divinity Original Sin, but it is closer to Baldur's Gate than it would be to Divinity, simply because it's using the same rule set. It is using the D&D rule set, so all the things that you're thinking of and familiar with for Baldur's Gate would be applicable in Solasta in terms of how the combat plays.
Yeah, I think that that kind of game, like I can't play it all the time. Like
Mhm.
it has to be here and there. I
Yeah.
like Baldur's Gate 3. I know somebody who has played Baldur's Gate 3 dozens of times over, and
Hmm.
I can't do that. Like I like the game, but I also like not playing the game now.
Yeah. One nice twist on Baldur's Gate, or on Solasta over Baldur's Gate, rather, is the resting system. So you remember how in Baldur's Gate you need camp supplies to rest, or random food that you can build up to a certain amount of camp supplies, and
Yeah.
uh, you can rest pretty much anywhere at any time, but you need to do it, and there's only two short rests limited before you have to long rest and whatnot. Like there's limits like that. So in Solasta, the way it functions is you just have rations pouches, and they're super cheap. They're all over the place. You can long rest without any sort of worry about having enough supplies. Like that's easy. But you can only long rest at campfires or in specific buildings like inns and locations that are safe. But you have unlimited short rests. So if you're playing a character like a warlock or a monk who get their spell slots and their key points back after a short rest, you can just keep refreshing them automatically. Uh, and because every time you travel somewhere, you are actually traveling days, you need your camp supplies in order to travel places, unless you are teleporting with certain key locations that have access to a teleport. So if you finish a location, like a main story quest, if you go anywhere, you're gonna end up pretty much having to long rest, and you're gonna be refreshed and ready to go by the time you get to the next location automatically.
I'm glad they made it better than Baldur's Gate. I That was one of the things I did not like about Baldur's Gate. That's straddling the line of things that I think are unnecessary in video games. Like you don't ever wonder when your character is going to the bathroom. It's irrelevant. Same thing with this. I think having to worry about how much food you have to make it on your journey is a function of Oregon Trail and not a function of a role playing game. Just like they didn't in Baldur's Gate, they didn't have spell components in it because spell components are not fun.
Yeah, there's like a pouch that is like spell components pouch in this game, where like it just has everything you need for almost
Yeah.
all of your spells. There's apparently like some very, very high level spells that they give you separate components for, but I haven't come across any, and I'm level 11 out of 12 for the base campaign. But yeah, the fun thing, like I wouldn't say fun, the convenient thing about this is you need to worry about your food while you travel, but it's so cheap. You can just like almost everywhere you go, you're finding camp supply, or not camp supplies. They're called rations. You're finding rations everywhere. Like every enemy has rations on them. While you're walking along the trail, you can find the rations you need from just like, oh, so Co found an apple tree, 6 more rations. Like,
Then what's the point?
what's the point of it?
Yeah, like if they're going to be everywhere, why even put it in there?
It's just they make it simple enough, because it is a part of the Dungeons and Dragons experience is having the food, but they make it so that it's not an inconvenience for you.
It doesn't feel like a reasonable part of world building to me.
It's it is in because it is trying to replicate the Dungeons and Dragons tabletop experience, where you would be worried about rations and having food and all of that stuff. So they do account for that, but again, it's so minimal that it's not a worry in the way that Baldur's Gate was literally a worry. Like you didn't have enough camp supplies, or you didn't have enough food to
The
full
first half
to
of the game, at least.
right, yeah, to fully long rest, and you're like, oh boy, what am I gonna do? You don't have to worry about it. And again, the short rests are infinite. You can just short rest over and over again, which is good, because I have a warlock and a monk, so I can refresh all their stuff. Um, yeah, it's been a good experience playing this game so far, and I look forward to keep going and seeing how much more I've got left in the main campaign. I don't think I have a lot left. I think that I read it's like 40 to 50 hours in the main story. So that's right about where I am. I'm doing all the like side stuff, but there's not a ton of side content. There's like a side quest here and there that you're doing, and it gives you faction rep or a cool reward or something. And there's a lot of random loot in the game, so the random loot can be really valuable items apparently, which I didn't know. until I was looking up some things, and it's like, you got this really rare item just randomly, and otherwise you can only get it from buying it. I was like, oh, okay, that's nice that it's structured that way, that not like the vendor that you don't have the rep with isn't automatically the lock, but behind you getting the better gear that you wanted and whatnot. So yeah,
Cool. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it, and I
I
look
am.
forward to hearing more next week.
Yeah, I will have more to say next week, and then next week by the time we play, I mean, I'll have Dragon Quest 7. I'll be involved in that for sure. So look forward to my early thoughts on Dragon Quest 7 Reimagined by then.
Cool. Well, you ready to move on to our wildcard topic of the day?
Yes, sir.
All right. So this is based on Code Vein 2 coming out this week. There was a somewhat vocal part of the Code Vein community who were not happy with the artistic direction of Code Vein 2, namely that the game, and I'm going to try to phrase things in a more generally acceptable way that will not get us demonetized because we're not earning any money anyway.
Get us anti-monetized. We have to pay them money.
Yeah, I'll say that that some people were not happy that Code Vein 2 was not quite as risque as Code Vein 1. And this, I'll do my best to make this topic accessible while being as expletive as necessary. So the entire discussion is, what are your thoughts on adult topics in video games? And I don't care whether we're talking about sex or whether we're talking about violence or whether we're talking about adult discussion topics, difficult discussions about life and relationships and other things that adults have to worry about. And I'll let you start off, and I've got a lot to say. We're coming up against time, but I'll do my best to limit it.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, say what you want to say. I've got nothing else going on. So if we have to go a little bit longer than we'd like to,
I have an afternoon to worry about still. But yeah, I mean,
yeah. So my thoughts on this are, I don't really understand why we as a, I don't want to say we as a society, because it's not society as a whole. It's we as a Western, or at least a Western Hemisphere society. Maybe not even Western Hemisphere. Maybe it's just America. Maybe it's just North America, But why we as a localized American society have decided that we have to be so controlling over what people who want to be creative put into their games on as a baseline. Like, I, generally speaking, don't care what you put in your game. You can put whatever you want. If you want to put your buxom anime ladies into your video game, great. If you want to put super hardcore violence into your game, great. You should be able to put whatever you want in your game.
So to interrupt real quick, was there any indication that they were pressured to change the art style, or was it just their own discretion that did it?
I have not heard if there was any pressure, officially or unofficially, but I do know that there has been pressure on some of these platforms through payment processors in particular over the last year or so, that have been pressuring people to limit the things that they include in their games. So I think you should have the total freedom to put whatever you want in your game without anyone telling you otherwise. And that's a baseline. Now, whether I choose to play your game, that's my decision. Whether a store chooses to sell your game, that's the store's decision. I don't like when other people, when outside forces try to come in and stomp on what you are putting in your game. Now, when it comes to who is available to play those games, that's a different conversation, because societally we have, for some reason, decided that it's much more okay for mass murders and violence and gore to be shown and played by children, even cartoon violence to be shown and played by children. But we have decided that any hint of sexuality is verboten and should be discouraged and hidden. And I don't get that. I don't get that. I think that it's got to be unquestionable that violence is much more damaging to the psyche of a young person than sexuality is. If you had to do a direct comparison to the two, at least I can't imagine it not being more damaging, because you desensitize people to violence and you make them not care about other people being hurt. and I don't think that that happens if you're exposing children to sexuality earlier. You may, if anything, maybe you end up with more promiscuous people, but I don't know. I don't think that that's as big of
I
a problem as losing care for people being injured. So
I
those are
think
my
you're
baseline
slightly
thoughts.
I think you're slightly off target here. I agree with you 100% that people should be able to create games and sell the games, and I, as a consumer, as a consumer adult, should
Hmm.
be able to choose what I want to buy and what I don't want to buy.
Yeah.
Um, and I agree. I think that we totally allow way too much violence in things that is generally acceptable. And games like Call of Duty should not be played by 10-year-old children. I I did not let my child play those games at that time. That is an adult game with an adult subject, and just because it doesn't have boobs doesn't mean that it's geared towards kids. Um, I also do not have a problem with consenting adults having any kind of sexual content they want to have. What you want to do in your home is perfectly fine with me as long as everybody is in agreement with it.
Hmm.
I think where I have the biggest problem, and it's part of like the, I won't say Japanese culture, but maybe Japanese culture. I don't know another place where you used to be able to buy girls' underwear and vending machines. Um, I think that sexuality in general is fine, and we should not discourage people from sexualizing content. Um, I think it's more of a problem with objectification, because they're not creating, in a lot of these games, they're not creating sexual content for a general population. They're objectifying women and putting women in a difficult position. And whether or not that's okay with you, then that's fine. Again, I don't, if women want to do things and that's their choice, I am fully supportive of them having their own choice. But I don't know that I feel like with a lot of these games, um, that they're saying, "Oh, we're choosing to go in a sexual manner." No, you're choosing to go in an objectifying manner. It's the women who are walking around with their breasts hanging out. And again, like, if that's what people want to buy, that's great. What I have a problem with is people getting up in arms because of direction change. And I don't know whether somebody was pressured to make this change in Code Vein. Um, I I think that it's silly for a whole group of people to be offended and be upset because there aren't enough anime boobies in my game. And go touch grass. There's enough content on the internet. If you want to see boobs, you can see boobs.
Yeah, I see. I think this kind of is related to our junk food gaming conversation that we were having earlier in a way, because sometimes you go to a game developer or a movie maker or whatever with an expectation of what you're going to get. And so I don't think that there's necessarily anything wrong with a group of people being upset that the anime booby uh, studio that you, as you refer to it, deciding that they, being upset that this anime booby studio is not going to do the anime boobies anymore. Like, to them, that's upsetting because that was something that they were looking forward to. That was something that they enjoyed. I obviously think that there are ways that you can express that in a healthy fashion. You don't need to be violent or rude or making threats towards people. That's, of course, too far. But if you're just sad,
I don't know that that happened in this case, or people
I
were
don't know.
just upset.
Yeah, I don't know either. I just want to make it clear that obviously that is inappropriate. But like, if you, it's the same thing. Like, okay, Horizon. We love the Horizon games, right? Horizon was made by Guerrilla Games. Guerrilla is best known prior to Horizon for making first-person shooters and Killzone. I could understand if someone who was a huge Killzone fan got super upset that their Killzone first person shooter developer suddenly decided to make a third person over the shoulder action RPG. And I kind of view this the same way. If your anime booby developer doesn't make the anime booby game anymore, then you can be annoyed by that. I understand that feeling because you are going to start. Now, again, there are
I
always caveats to things. Like, is that why they're upset? Or are they just upset because they don't have anime boobies anymore? I don't know. But, like, to me, it's okay.
I would say
to
I
be
do know,
annoyed.
but continue on.
It's okay to be annoyed if the developer that you are a fan of makes a giant sudden shift away from something that you like from that developer, is my stance
Well,
on
but
it.
you can be upset about it, but I don't know. This feels different than being disappointed that you're not going to make that they're not getting the next Killzone game. I played the Killzone games. I thought they were a lot of fun.
Never played them.
But at the same time, I'm a James Cameron fan. I like Aliens. I like The Abyss. I like Avatar. I don't care for Titanic. I think that it is a fantastic movie, one of the greatest movies ever made by one of the greatest directors ever made. It's not my cup of tea. Am I upset that he made it? No. He's a director. Please make the movies that you think that you want to make. And the same thing with this. Maybe they decided, hey, we want to go in a slightly different direction with this game. Maybe we want to appeal to a larger crowd.
Yeah,
Maybe we've
sure.
grown as people and don't want to be associated with this group anymore and want to be taken more seriously.
There are all sorts of reasons and thoughts that could be behind it, and I think that the healthy stance is, oh man, that's disappointing, and then leaving it there. Like, that is the healthy approach, in my personal opinion, towards disappointment. Is, ah man, that's unfortunate. And I almost understand it a little bit stronger in games because game development takes so long. You know, James Cameron could make a movie in two. I mean, James Cameron the exception, I guess, because his movies take
James
20
Cameron
years.
can snap his fingers and make a great movie.
But also the timeline is what I'm talking about, like the length of time it takes. You know, game development takes a long time. Code Vein 1 is 2019. Like, it's been 7 years since.
No, 2019 was 2 years ago. I remember.
You know, it's been a long time. So I can understand if if you're upset that the studio that you were looking forward to their next game is so not what you were looking forward to. You know, I get that. As someone who, you know, is a BioWare fan and who got Anthem when it should have been Dragon Age and had to wait an extra 6 years or 5 years for the game, like, that was disappointing to not get what I wanted. Now, again, we're obviously talking about different things, because in one scenario it's the total shift of the type of game being made, and the other scenario is it's having a slightly
change in art direction.
Right, a change in art direction. Yeah, so there is a difference in that regard, absolutely. And
I mean, people need to understand that whenever you have a certain art style and your inclusion of sex and, to a lesser extent, violence, you're changing your target audience on a game.
You are. You definitely
are. And
if
you want to appeal to a wider crowd, that's a business decision you make.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It is a business decision, and it's a risk that you're going to leave behind the people who were there for the more prurient interests than
I guess my point with this topic was this, but also as a larger point, I think the enforcement mechanism in the video game world is too lax, and people don't take it seriously enough. And I don't know that we need laws put into place. Right now, the entire ESRB is a completely voluntary, industry-aligned business. And I don't know whether it's the ESRB's fault, it's developers' fault, you know, people in the game industry, or whether it's just American society's fault. I know that there are places who say they don't sell mature games to people of a certain age. I don't have a lot of experience as an adult to know that that is true or false, but I don't believe that that's strictly enforced. And I think American society in general glorifies violence way too much and has absolutely no problem with, you see it on TV. Somebody getting their head blown off is not the same thing as seeing a pair of boobs. And like you said, one of those things is a lot more harmful to the development of
I do
a
think
child
that
than the other one. And I don't know that I think that it's better in Europe. I know that there was a huge problem with Balatro. And maybe I pronounced it wrong. Maybe I didn't. I've never heard it pronounced. It was classified as a gambling game, and it wasn't able to be played by children. I'm trying to remember what the European model is. Their rating, Peggy, yeah, because it used the rules of poker
hands, yeah.
And it's not a poker game. It's very much a card deck building game using the rules of poker. And the developer had to go to bat for a long time to get it released in a way that kids could play it, because it's not a violent game. It's a fun game.
Yeah.
It's almost like a math game. It's a way of sneaking vegetables onto a kid's plate.
So I think that to your point on the ESRB, if a game does not have an ESRB rating, there is not a single physical retailer that will sell that game.
Correct.
So they won't sell it. They strictly enforce the guidelines for game ratings in terms of selling things. And I can say that because I know that I always needed adults around if I wanted a video game that was rated M, if I wanted it when I was younger than 17. So it is strictly enforced at retailers. Now, how it's enforced and how it's handled in the digital world with Steam and PlayStation Store and all of that stuff is entirely in the parents' hands because it's parental accounts and parental controls and how each individual user's account is set up. That is not something that is able to be as easily monitored as a physical store is. But you need an ESRB rating. It is not voluntary to have an ESRB rating if you want to be sold
at Target or Walmart or Amazon or whatever,
or on the PSN or on Xbox. Like they require ESRB ratings in America.
You can still publish a computer game and download it from the company's website.
Yeah,
but that's going to cut out a large percentage, 99% of your market.
I think Steam requires an ESRB rating. Let me see. Steam require an ESRB rating.
I don't know that I care either way about Steam.
It does not. Okay, so no, Steam does not.
There are adult games on Steam. Yeah, I have heard of them. I think it's irrelevant just because, again, I don't know if other countries are better or worse than America or the same as America. But I think a lot of parents, they don't do their due diligence.
Definitely
as parents. I've known of 3-year-olds that had the ability to order things off of Amazon and just get whatever they want. And so anytime you get rid of
off of Amazon
toys, whenever you lose the brick and mortar barrier to it, you 100% are getting rid of most of your enforcement capabilities for.
Yeah, and it goes in the parents' hands for sure, and that comes down to parental responsibility.
And there's a problem with how we as a society view video games and cartoons as oftentimes kids things when they're not. I mean, video games are at the what was the game whenever I was Postal that was so big and it was so violent and people were surprised, and it's like I don't know, but like if you want to make that game, I don't care, but people need to understand that just because things are on a video game console doesn't make them for kids. The same thing with animation. Animation is an art style, and while it's traditionally been marketed more towards children because of bright colors and et cetera, doesn't mean that everything that's animated is for kids, and there should be space for both.
Postal 2 is 2003, and that's the one that was the first person perspective. That's what I was thinking of. The first Postal is 97.
And then the movie by Uwe Boll, I don't know how to pronounce it. And the movie had Dave Foley in it from Kids in the Hall. It was not a good movie. I watched it entirely because he was in it.
Has Uwe Boll ever made a good movie?
I don't believe so. I believe he had a boxing match with Something Awful's Lotax back in the 2000s. And I don't know if it actually happened because my understanding is Uwe Boll is a trained boxer and would probably beat the snot out of 99% of the population of untrained people.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. But anyway, I thought it was something interesting to talk about. Obviously, my opinion is colored as somebody who's never had to worry about it because growing up, video games were largely kid things. I mean, the violent video games were Duck Hunt. And, Space Invaders was, sure, aliens were coming to take over the world, but they were blips on a screen you shot little sticks at. It's not exactly the same thing. And I've never had to worry about buying a game because I've been an adult the entire time. And I know with my kids, there were games
for your kids.
I did, but I've also been more ingrained in the industry and more educated on the subject matter than most people because of where my interests lie. And there were games that my kid did not play or I would not play in front of him. Assassin's Creed games, he was probably 10 before he saw any Assassin's Creed games. And, every kid is different. You have to do what's right for your kid and what you feel is right. But I don't think we should trivialize the impact that over-the-top violence has on people. And honestly, I'll go ahead and say it. If you think that that a pair of boobs is more damaging to your kid's psyche, you've got some serious problems with your priorities in life.
I don't disagree with you, and it's funny because I've had this conversation with a friend before, and this friend of mine was insistent that um, violence is more a part of nature than sexuality is, and I was like, that makes zero sense.
Well, I mean, I violence is more a part of nature than it is of society.
Sure.
But like they're both things. I mean, you go to the zoo and you're going to see sexuality on a lucky day. So
Yeah, I found it fascinating that his stance was genuinely that exposing children to violence is not as harmful as exposing them to sexual material is, because sexual material is naturally a private matter and violence happens in public, is basically what his stance was.
I think he's wrong and right. I mean, they're both public things in the natural world. But I think that as we evolve as humanity, our need for violence should be lower and our need for sexuality is going to be constant.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you on that. And I am glad that there are ways for us to monitor these things, as because I don't have any children yet, but I will eventually have children, and I want to be able to monitor. And I'm glad that there are things like ESRB to find out what's in the games if I haven't played them. Like, I think that that's beneficial to us, and I don't want it to go any further than having this system, because I don't want the government to have to step in and start doing things like putting legal restrictions on it. I think that's a step too far. I think the government should be getting out of a lot of things it's already involved in anyway. So, I think that as long as we figure out a way to make sure that parents have the ability to be aware of these things, I think we're okay. But it's really on parents and individual parental responsibility to look into it. And that's where the downside is, because a lot of things fall onto individual parents, and not all parents are as good a parent as you.
So, and here's my, I guess, larger feeling about things is I'm not scared of the government. I am scared of them making bad laws. Government is people. It is made up of people and made up by the people who are elected to lead us. I am full bore for the United Federation of Planets, and the faster we can get to something like that, the happier I'm going to be. The biggest problem is parental failings today lead to society problems tomorrow.
True.
Not every kid who's bad, or not every adult who's bad, came from parental problems, but I think that there's more than a causal effect from bad parenting.
Yeah, I mean, nature versus nurture. That's the
The answer is both. I don't care what anybody says. They both matter.
I think I think anyone would eventually agree that you meet and see enough people that you have to think it's both.
Yeah, I mean, there are bad kids. There are people who it hurts to say that they're irredeemable people, because I am a firm believer in redemption and people going to jail and being reformed and being productive members of society. But I also think there are people who in our current scientific capabilities, whatever's going on in their brain is not something that we can fix. And that's a challenge for society. That's a huge discussion to get into. Yeah, I guess there's my feelings on the subject.
Yeah, I think we've covered the topic on adult games and adult items and themes in games pretty well. I want us to get away from a world in which the control over what's in content is not in the hands of the creators, and is in the hands of payment processors and the money movers. That is scary, because those people,
I think
tend
that sucks.
Yeah, the money movers are the ones who tend to be the ones that are least likely to be willing to allow the experimental weird things.
Yep. As an adult, I should be able to spend my money on the things that I want to spend them on within reason. Like, I don't think that I should have access to heroin. But if I want to buy an adult movie, that's my business in doing so. And Visa shouldn't be able to say, no, we don't want to use that.
But they do all the time. And I know this because I do contracts and I work with payment processors, and I read the payment processors, and adult content is explicitly listed as things that are prohibited sometimes.
Yep. Cool.
Crazy stuff.
All right, well, let's roll into our upcoming games if you would like to take that.
Yeah, just a few ones this week, but we're actually starting to get into some releases here.
We've already talked about all 3 of these in the last 2 weeks.
We did, but we'll just announce that they are coming out. Dragon Quest VII Reimagined comes to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, Switch 2, Switch, and PC on February 5th, or for the digital deluxe purchase of $75, $15 more than the base game on February 3rd. I don't know what else you get with it. I just saw the early access in there. I have a physical version pre-ordered at GameStop. I actually left the receipt in my pants when I did the wash the other day, so I had to dry the receipt out. I'm like, okay, I can still see it. It's on my account anyway. Like, it's not.
I'll say, who uses receipts anymore? Jeez.
I just have the
wonder
receipt.
They're going out of business.
Yeah. It's on the account, but yeah. Next up is Sid Meier's Civilization 7 is coming to Mac and iOS on February 5th.
I will play that. Yeah, that's Apple Arcade, so that's going to be part of my subscription.
Going to be on Apple Arcade? That's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And then finally, Neo 3 comes to PlayStation 5 and PC on February 6th. And Byron will not be playing that one.
Probably not.
Well, that's right. But it is nice to start seeing some games come out. We've got a lot of things coming out this month here. I mean, we've got Yakuza and Resident Evil coming out later on. You know, we're starting to get into the release season after a very slow January, it seemed like.
I will probably not play Resident Evil, but I probably will watch Markiplier play Resident Evil.
Are you going to play Yakuza Kiwami 3?
No, I will not. No, I will not do your comfort food slop.
It's not slop. That's the thing. It's not slop at all. It's very high quality. So yeah, and that'll do it for the show, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to our wonderful show here. Just a relatively normal length of time on this one, not too long, I don't think.
A little high. We're at 2 hours.
We're 2 hours. Well, that's just because we had to edit a few minutes out while I ran to get a package. But it won't be 2 hours for the listeners, which is good.
Oh, I talked through it. You can leave it in there. It's good content.
No.
I'm glad you're editing this week because I don't want to do it.
That's why I made the symbol, so I can just boop, boop, snip, gone.
Use a transition. Star wipe.
Yeah, no. But yeah, thank you so much, everybody. Again, Byron, where can people find you?
Radio Free Europe on Blue Sky. I actually posted last week because I had things to say about Catherine O'Hara's passing. Rest in peace.
Yes, I did see that. You can find me on Twitter /X at Joseph_Law_Russa. You can find my writing and season gaming at Don Lionheart, everyone. Once again, please remember to subscribe to the show if you've enjoyed it. Remember, Byron's offering a copy of Ball Pit. If he gets 10 comments on here, he will give
Buy a copy. Me Ball Pit or go to hell.
Yeah, there you go. Well, Byron, again, thank you so much for joining me this week. It was a wonderful time, as always. I hope you have a great rest of the week. Thank you, everyone, for your time. And remember, whether it's your gen, my gen, or someone else's, friends can be cross-generation.
Goodbye, everybody.
Take care, all.